I'm Locke Meredith. I'd like to invite you to join me on the next Legal Lines, where my guest is Rolfe McCollister. Rolfe has been the publisher, the owner of Baton Rouge Business Report, which just celebrated its 40th anniversary, and he just retired. He's going to tell us about what he's learned. He's also going to talk to us about a city manager type of government, a hybrid of what we currently have, and then just having a manager manage all the city functions. Join us on the next Legal Lines with Rolfe McCollister. Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates has served our community by airing Legal Lines, a community educational program for 18 years weekly to Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas. Watch Legal Lines at LockeMeredith.com or Cox Channel 1004.
Hi, I'm Sean Fagan of Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates. When insurance companies have been unfair, we've never been afraid to go to trial. Fighting hard to protect your rights, we never settle a case out of convenience. We only settle when it's right for you. Whether you hire us at all, give us a call.
Hello, welcome to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith, and I'm very pleased to have back on the show Rolfe McCollister. He is the owner and the publisher and everything else of Baton Rouge Business Report for 40 years, and you just retired.
Right.
Pleasure to have you back on, Rolfe.
Glad to be here.
It's good to see you. I thought it'd be really interesting to kind of get your perspective, given that you've been in kind of the business world and talking to all the business leaders and the political leaders for 40 years. It's incredible, and I can't believe it's 40 years. But congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So quickly tell folks a little bit about yourself. You know, we don't need tons of detail, but everybody likes to know, why do I care what this fellow's telling me, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm born and raised in Baton Rouge. Seen a lot of change over the years.
Amen, brother.
And I went to LSU, graduated LSU. I started out, I was going to be a lawyer like my dad, and took some courses and did a sort of an internship at the law firm, and kind of said, gee, you know, I'm not sure I want to do this, and kind of pick one area of law and stick. I kind of like variety, and so I changed my mind, and then I was like, now I don't know what I want to do, and ended up getting a part-time job at a newspaper that my dad was going to be involved with John McGinnis. And Steve May Grigri was starting the Enterprise, and so I went over there and got a part-time job and loved it. It changed with every issue, and so
got the bug.
Yeah, and so when I graduated, I stayed on, and then after 4 more years is when we saw a trend around the country of business journals, sort of local business journals, and so anyway.
Who's we?
Well, John McGinnis and Jody, myself, my dad, and we said, you know, is this something we want to try to sort of spin off from the Enterprise? And so anyway, we decided, I said, well, look, I'll head that up and be publisher, and we'll try it. So I did it and went to a national convention, saw what was happening around the country. I said, look, this is where we're going to put our eggs. And we closed the Enterprise, and John went on to write his book. And so my dad and I teamed up and, you know, said, let's go for the business niche. And this was the difference. Instead of being general interest, against TV, radio, and all that, it became very segmented, much like we see today. You know, whether it's restaurants or whether it's radio or whether it's, you know, just.
But you were on the cutting edge.
Yeah, and so this was, you know, 40 years ago. I was 26 and didn't know any better. And so anyway, we did that, and in that niche we became, you know, the best. And so with the print, and then we started the Business Expo we did. We started the Business Awards we did. And in fact, I brought in Steve Forbes as my first speaker. You know, again, trying to raise the bar and saying in this area of business, we wanted to be number one, whether it was events, whether it was trade shows, whether it was, you know, the publication.
How many different businesses are you involved in?
Yeah, well, in that case,
tons of boards too.
Yeah, we did. I mean, I you know, again, as you raise your profile, more and more people start inviting you, and I've had the pleasure of serving on a lot of boards, too many at the same time, because again, it pulls you, and so you can spread yourself thin. But we started, you know, eventually we started spinning off different publications, and then Julio joined me 25 years ago. We had 225. Yeah, we bought in Register magazine. We started 1012. We started Daily Report, an e-newsletter,
which was digital.
Yeah, which is digital.
First venture into the digital world.
And we decided to take that risk. We were entrepreneurial. That was 25 years ago. I asked
that really was getting right at the beginning of it.
I asked the editor of Axios. I said, "Look, when do you know the first?" He said, "Well, I don't remember an email daily before 2000. Well, we were 1998.
Wow.
The first business journal in the country that had ever done one. So we were very fortunate in going to where, as Wayne Gretzky said, the puck was going to be, not skating it to where it was. And so anyway, we diversified in that area, and then we've gone into digital. We've done a lot of events we do all over the city. And so those are the kind of things that helped us be good at niches and instead of general interest. And I think that's been something that's allowed us to flourish, for 40 years. But you got to keep innovating. You can't stop creating. During the pandemic, we created a webinars, and in fact, not only did we get Steve Forbes and Nick Saban and others, John Maxwell, to do our webinars, but then we syndicated them to 20 markets.
Wow.
So instead of just trying to serve our market, we created a product that was a market they could do. So again,
20 times bigger, probably.
Yeah. And so, we had to, like a lot of businesses, you had to create. And so that's been the fun thing is I love creating and innovating. And that's just been a hallmark of the company. And now Julio and the team over there continues that. And it's just a great way to serve the community because Baton Rouge is a great community, and we want it to have what everybody else has, and the business people to have that kind of information, and so it's been real rewarding.
You also were really very involved in the political world.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, business and politics tends to go together.
Yeah.
Two peas in a pod, so to speak. And you ran for mayor.
Yeah, I did. I ran for mayor. And
I supported you.
Yeah, I wish it wasn't so much around politics in Louisiana, but going back to the days of Huey and then everybody looks to the governor to take care of everything, and that's unfortunate, because in other states it's not so much first and foremost. But I decided we needed leadership, and so when Edwin was up in '86 and '87. I got involved. First one was Buddy Roemer, somebody who was a big thinker and going to change the system. And so I got involved with him because I thought, that'll help set the tone. And change is hard. And people say they want change until you get somebody in there and starts changing. And they're like, oh, I don't know. And 80% of the people who live in Louisiana are native. That's the highest in the nation.
Say that again. 80% born, raised, and going to die here
are native, and that's the highest in the country. So when you say the status quo, we have 8 out of 10 who are the status quo. So when you try to change something, you got to convince 8 out of 10, or not 8 out of 10, but you got to convince another 3 or 4 to go with you. And I hate the phrase, well, Locke, that's not the way we've always done it before. Well, so what? We need to change it.
Yeah, the question is it better?
Yeah, and in fact, the charity hospital system, we were the last state in the nation to move that. I was on the LSU board when we broke that up and went to partners. Now, does the lake do better than the old charity? Does the children's hospital or the hospital in New Orleans do better? You're getting faster service, you get faster, everything is better now because you have hospitals who know what they're doing instead of a state-run, government-run operation.
Which is really where a lot of the residents trained.
Yeah, and so the idea, but now they've got a great partnership with partners in every hospital. But that was a big one, and Huey gave that to us, and then it's kind of like that's our tradition. But why are we the last state with a safety net hospital? And so these are the kind of things that unfortunately, we have these traditions in our city and in our state that we just have a tough
the old
time
ways of doing it.
Letting change go. And look, change is everywhere in every segment. After the pandemic, whether it's remote work or delivery or it's Uber, cab services change, everything has changed. The way ordering online and having it delivered to your doorstep the next day. It's changed so many businesses, and the idea is...
And it's faster.
Yeah, government has to change too, and the way we serve people, and even privatization. That was a big thing I pushed.
All right, we'll continue this on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith, Legal Lines. My very special guest, Rolfe McCollister, Baton Rouge Business Report, retired. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Mitchell Meredith. Injuries happen when you least expect them to, making your life more complicated. At Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates, we know this and we strive to help each of our clients during these times. Whether you hire us at all, give us a call at 272-5555.
Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates has won for our clients over $175 million over the decades, but our greatest success is our clients who have chosen and trusted us to help them. Whether you hire us at all, give us a call. You've got nothing to lose.
I'm lawyer Collins Locke Meredith. Trust is important when hiring an injury law firm. At Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan Associates, thousands have trusted us and gotten the results they deserved. Visit us at LockeMeredith.com. Whether you hire us at all, give us a call, 272-5555.
Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith. I'm very pleased to have back on the show Rolfe McCollister. He is the retired now, but creator and publisher of Baton Rouge Business Report, who just celebrated 40 years of service to our community. Let's dive back in. So let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about Baton Rouge, because you've been involved in the business world for 40 years, the political world for 40 years. You stuck your toe in, ran for mayor 23 years ago? 22 years ago. Tell me what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong, or just tell me what you would recommend be done differently.
Well, again, I go back to, I'm a big one on best practices. And in my business, when we were the business report, we used to go to other markets and get ideas. And we'd find things, the book of list, which we do, the business awards that we did, the expo, the trade show, all these were ideas. Even the business journal itself, these were something doing elsewhere that came to. It's sort of like everybody gets excited about a Whole Foods or a Shake Shack or whatever. Well, these are a concept somewhere else, and then they finally arrived in Baton Rouge.
Like franchise.
Exactly. And we don't have them, and then we get them. And so these ideas, well, the same way as when I went up to Milwaukee and met with one of the top mayors who was a Democrat. I met with Stephen Goldsmith from Indianapolis, who was one of the top mayors, Republican, and said, tell us what you're doing that's doing, I got criticized because they're like, why are you going out and talking to these people? You don't think we can come up, we're smart enough to come up with our own solution?
Interesting.
And my idea is, well, look, if you have, please tell us. Because if there's a cure for cancer in California, I'm going. And people, and so the point being is that find what works and bring it here. And so this is where I'm, there's a same city manager, council manager form of government. That's where you hire a professional. And a lot of times,
what kind of government do we have right now?
Right now we have a mayor council form of government. We have a very strong.
The power's chopped up how?
Yeah, strong mayor sets the budget, makes the hires, the chief, all the department heads. And the mayor really just kind of reacts to whatever the mayor sends. This is where the mayor is actually a member of the council, and
like a mayor pro tem. Yeah,
like a mayor pro tem, and they actually hire the city manager, who's a professional that runs the day-to-day. That in fact transcends the next election. So if you change the mayor, a lot of times it's like, well, no, the city manager stays. In Frisco, the fastest-growing city in America, which is just north of Dallas. They've had a city manager now there for 30 years. Fastest growing city in America. Things keep running smooth. And what we have is sort of the old way of you elect a new mayor on popularity, and then they get to put their people in. Well, if they want to go out and get professionals,
and that's going on forever.
But what you get is you get friends and so forth, and you put people in there. And the question is, do they have the experience to run a city? Our city is 4,500 so employees with over $1 billion budget. That's a major company. Think about it in town. How many companies do we have that are that big? And look at the executives who and all the experience and education and everything they've had to run that particular build and that business in that particular sector. And it's like, has our mayor had that kind of experience? And so the idea is like a coach. Who's your defensive coordinator? Who's your offensive coordinator? Who's your special team to look? They can kill you. Coach O, I know how much he missed Dave Aranda when he left and went to Baylor. And then the next year, his team ends up in the top four, So this is where I think that we've got to think about our form.
Has there ever been anything comparable to that here in Louisiana?
I don't know. It's if they've had many. Again, ours is
any
just
kind of relational thing. Like I remember, I forgot. Mansour was the guy that didn't.
Yeah. Now Walter Mansour, he came in with Kip, and see, he had worked as the administrator under Pat Screen, so he had cut his teeth.
So kind of transition.
And learned how he did it, and Kip got him to come back. And he's a very sharp attorney as well as an operator, but he also had that experience of working under Screen. And man, he made things happen. day-to-day as a COO kind of thing
Interesting.
versus the CEO going
So it
out
chops
there.
up the job,
Yeah.
and instead of the mayor having to try and learn that stuff on the fly, they come in, they handle the political component of it, and the city manager as a CEO makes all the bad decisions that hurt people. So you're out of here or whatever.
I mean, making the trains run on time is the city managers. The mayor is the political. People tell me over and over, the number one salesman for a city is the mayor. Go out there and sell our city. Go out and bring people to our town, whether it be visitors, conventions, or whether it be new businesses.
Interesting.
I mean, we got to have somebody selling. If you're selling, you can't be back at the office running the day-to-day with every department.
So in your view, when the mayor chooses somebody to head up DPW or whatever, I know they've chopped it up now, but they would go to people that had held that position in the past, hoping that there would be some kind of background. But you're telling me there's a whole litany of folks who are trained in each of those disciplines.
And particularly the city manager who actually does those hires. The mayor actually may give the blessing, but the mayor says, I don't have to worry about interview.
She delegates the responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
And then she still makes, or he makes the final decision.
Exactly. You know, and works with the council members and their politics. And so it's just, again, over half the cities in America have a city manager, council manager, form of government. So it's the majority.
And you said the fastest growing city in the
America,
nation.
Frisco. In fact, recently the chamber took a canvas trip to Greenville. You know, they go to these different cities to look at how they operate. And Greenville's a hot city in the South. Guess what kind of government they have? A council manager form of government, you know.
So what would have to happen if enough people were convinced by your reasoning for that to be considered and ultimately, I guess,
well, there's two things. You know, right now we have a city parish form of government. So instead, if we had a city, you could just go in and potentially change the city. Because you have a parish where the city and the mayor is the mayor, the parish, and the parish, you know, the old police juror and all that, that would probably potentially have to be broken up. What we could do instead is what Baltimore did, which was approve a new council, city administrator, a position with defined roles of running things. The mayor would choose the person,
more likely.
But then they would send it to the council, and the council would have to confirm that choice. So you would
kind
have
of like
to,
the president nominates a Supreme Court justice
and
with the advice and consent of the Senate.
So that way, again, the council says, we demand certain criteria and qualifications. It just can't be your friend. And if not, we can reject it and so forth. So there's, I think, some ways, but this is an international.
So that's a blend.
Yeah, and there's and it's happened because I got on the phone with the International Association of City Managers and to discuss the options and what works, and that's where I got the stats from. But, you know, the idea is it mainly means that we have to have professionals running our day-to-day operations of the cities because it's a major operation of the capital city. And so that's where I think we've kind of lacked.
I think you said $1 billion every year budget, spending $1 billion, and you got 4,500 employees.
I mean, it is a big
I don't know
operation.
how a single person can handle any of that.
They can. I mean,
even
on a company, you take a company that size, see if they don't have a COO. You know, see if they don't have a, CFO. See if they don't have, I mean, they have people in all sorts of, just like the coach.
They chop up all the responsibility.
The coach has multiple, coaches, and so this is where I think we need to really look at that, because what happens is we needed to continue from administration to administration, consistency, so.
And it's not happening.
We got to challenge the status quo.
All right, well, let's shift gears a little bit, because the next thing I'll tell you what, we'll do this on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith, Legal Lines, Rolfe McCollister, Baton Rouge Business Report, retired, talk about politics, maybe change the government. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Sean Fagan of Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan & Associates. Open the phone book or look online. There are plenty of lawyers to choose from. And if you ask any of them, they'll agree that the vast majority of claims settle without ever having gone to trial. And I'll tell you, any lawyer can settle a claim. It's not hard to settle a claim, but it takes hard work to get a client what he or she deserves. At Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan & Associates, we have a proven record of working hard for our clients. Whether you hire us at all, give us a call.
Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith. Very pleased to have back on the show Rolfe McCollister. He's now retired, but started the whole Baton Rouge Business Report and many other periodicals, as they used to say. Let's dive back in. You were talking about possibly considering a blend of the two big types of governing. in the city world. One is a city manager, one is kind of what we have, which is a Metro Council strong mayor. And there's a blend of that where the mayor might recommend, council has to approve. And we were off just now, and you kind of brought up now a new top fella's been put in. He's a former military, National Guard, good guy, you know him. But running the city parish government and its employees is not the same as talking to a military guy.
He has experience in big organizations, and I hear great things about him. The difference is you give orders in the military and there's no discussion, again, running a city is just like any other profession. If I'm going to court, I'm not getting a plumber. I'm coming to see a lawyer, who's got skill in that area. And so again, if you're going to run a city, you got to have people that have run cities and know all the ins and outs, but also the new trends and the new ideas. And this is where you can't, Einstein's definition of insanity, do the same thing over and over, expect different results. He also said you can't, solve today's problems, with the same things that, you used when you created them. You have to evolve.
Adapt.
And so we need expertise in running the city and planning ahead and knowing where the latest and greatest are, recruiting talent to work in the city. I know it's tough. We might have to raise salaries in some areas and consolidate. And well, that's not the way we've always done it before. I don't care. You know what I mean? Every business,
what we're doing is not working.
Every
is what you're
business
saying.
has to change. During the pandemic, you had to change or die. And so I don't know why we can't adopt that with, government. And that's, that's probably government everywhere. I'm not a big government fan anywhere, including education.
Well, that's where that was my next question, because doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, when we're usually 50th in educating our kids, we're not, in terms of the public schools, and we're lucky if a school is a C or a B. A lot of them are worse than that. How do we change that, Rolfe? I mean, I know this is real strong to your heart.
Well, years ago, we brought, seeing what the situation was, we actually, Jim Geyser was the head of it and drove the idea of charter. And he didn't know what a charter was.
Define charter.
So charter is really just you get a charter from the school board to go out and set up a school, promising certain results and guidelines and so forth that you have to operate under to deliver results, but then that money follows the child. Now, for every child that signs up by their parent, that's choice, then you get the dollar. If that parent leaves, like any other business, the dollar goes with them. And so the point is there's competition. And we have one school here, Basis, which came out of California and Arizona, and they have 5 of the top high schools in Wall Street Journal's best high schools in America. And they have 2 schools here. And the idea there is that they have a very high standards. They do a lot of training. They're willing to invest, and they build their own schools.
Lane Grigsby, right? Is involved with Basis?
He may be. I'm not sure, but the idea there is that, it's innovation. And right now we're seeing even our own school system here evolve, because they're now doing these focused choice, and they're teaming up with hospitals and so forth. It's like, why they're doing that? They'll tell you, because the choices that the charter schools were offering to where they had to compete. And, and so this is where, again, now they have unions and the charter schools don't have unions.
Meaning politics plays a big role.
You can hire who you want. You can pay them differently what you want. It's not one size fits all. And that upsets a lot of people. But the point is that, like in free enterprise, you hire who you want and you can fire.
Now, there's been bills sent by the legislature to Governor Edwards, right? That we're trying to incorporate this into our education world, and those didn't happen.
He continues to believe, his wife was a member of the teachers union, she was a teacher, and you know what, God bless him. But the idea, he vetoes bills because the unions are a political force, and Democrats have always tended to support the unions, and my thing is—
and vice versa.
Yeah, I don't care what choice you have. I don't care what type of school. It can be a voucher, it can be choice, it can be private, whatever serves the child, as long as you keep the child as the goal. Focus. Yes. That's why they say, well, they're taking our money. They go like, wait. That's tax dollar
And
money.
it's not your money.
Meant to educate
Right.
children. And you act like it's only for you. And it's like, as a taxpayer, I meant it to go to the child, and wherever it meets their need, and I'll let the parent decide, I'm happy.
Because there's no chance, almost zero chance, for a child who doesn't get a good education to succeed in today's society, particularly considering all the
Absolutely.
change that you just talked about
Absolutely.
regarding technology and methodologies and the whole
Locke,
systems.
You had choices. I had choices of my children. You know, the whole idea with the charter is to give other people
Right.
who didn't have the dollars to go into a private school.
Go
whatever,
to the
go
school my kids go to.
as they want to go. And so this is why, again, guys, what are you afraid of? And so it is about competition. It's about, you know, when people come to our community, they go, what are the choices? Well, are there choices, or, you know, strictly you got to pay, or either you have a zip code and there's your school? And there are more, because, you know, magnet was a choice, which is
Right.
good if you can
Get in.
make it in the mag and get in the magnet. But what about the other choices?
I mean, that was almost the origin of the City of St. George guys.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
just
they
wanted-
tried to get their kids into magnets. They couldn't get in. They said, we tried to do it right under the politics we understand.
Well,
it didn't work so
again,
far.
I look at the free enterprise system and what it's done for America, the greatest economy in the world. And I look at it, even they go back to the old GI Bill, and you had a GI Bill and you could go to any college you wanted to, use it wherever you want to use it. And that was like the voucher. And look at our university
Created a
system.
huge
We have
middle
people from
class.
all over the world come to America to go to universities. And so here it is, there's the evidence, but then you don't want to do it because of the jobs. The question is it's really a lot about protecting jobs. And I've found in my 20-something years of fighting for choice and education, you're either for adults or you're out to protect children. And if you're out there to protect adults and those jobs,
At the
so be
expense
it.
of children.
I'm over here saying whatever works for children, I'm for. I'm not wed to any one solution. And it's sort of like in business, you know, in the media business. You know, I started out in only print. I could have stuck with only print, and you know what?
Be gone.
The company, you know. And so it's like you got to evolve the print, you got to evolve the digital, you got to evolve events, you got to create to meet the customer's need. Again, the customer's king. And I wish that was in schools, the customer was king, the parents. I wished in government services. And if you can't do the
citizens
service,
are the king.
let me privatize the service to a business who caters to the customer, which is not only the public, but also to the government that hires them, to say, if I don't do the job, let somebody else.
Really what we're talking about is on the public scale, the free enterprise system, competition.
Exactly. I mean, to me, that's what's made America great, and I'd like to see more and more of it in every of our sector. Now, you know, I know there's certain things, but, you know, for the most
Rolfe,
part,
we got to end it here.
there's a will, there's a way.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
All right.
Really enjoyed it. Look
Thank
forward
you.
to talking
Thank
to you
you.
again. This is Locke Meredith Legal Lines, Rolfe McCollister, former publisher, owner of the Baton Rouge Business Report. He's retired. Pleasure being with you, Rolfe.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us, folks.